Okay, A.E. Van Vogt is one of those science fiction authors which seems to have been named and seems to have been around forever. He was in the mid-century, even pulp science fiction era, and kind of continued on later. If you go into any used or second-hand bookshop and look at the science fiction section, you're bound to find half a dozen beat-up, sad-looking paperbacks with his name on them. He seemed to put out a lot of output, and in the 60s and 70s they kind of republished them, repackaged them for a later generation, and you still find those today. And I can't remember if I actually read anything else by this author at all, A.E. Van Vogt. He's very prodigious. He seems to have written everything, and I think he was a pioneer of what they call a fix-up novel, where short stories which were previously serialized in the magazines of the time were kind of stitched together into novels, so you could sell a novel based on your earlier work with a minor adaptation. And one of these apparently is this book, The Weapon Shops of Usher. Now this is one of those famous classic science fiction books which everyone refers to, or you see referred to and talked about. It's from 1951, I believe. I actually read a Kindle version of it, but later on I found this print copy of the same book in Books Plus in Bishopdale Mall. And this is a 1968, I think, NEL, New English Library edition, with a wraparound cover by the usually fantastic artist Bruce Pennington. Kind of took things very literal and for the brief on this cover. He's basically drawn weapons floating in the air above a landscape. So yeah, that is as it may. So the book itself, mainly set in the year 4000 and something. The Earth and the solar system perhaps are under the control of a empire named as Usher, which is a kind of hereditary monarchy. The current monarch is a young woman called Imelda, who kind of struggles to get anything done against the bureaucracy and corruption of the government and military in place. And into this world comes the weapon shops, the kind of buildings which teleport through place and apparently time to appear outside the main settlements in Usher, and they offer weapons for sale. They have like a libertarian method that if you can have weapons, you can be free, and people can go into these shops and buy weapons. They're frowned upon by the Usher government, of course, but they can gain weapons which have certain conditions. You can only use them for self-defense or, as we see in the book, suicide. Now, the government of Usher are trying to combat these weapon shops, and it seems the weapon shops, along with providing weapons, obviously, kind of offer a kind of alternate government justice system, social welfare system from the government of Imelda's Usher, which is kind of failing on all counts, and they are opposed. And the weapon shops are controlled by like a council of elders. Not in this book, it's not really described where they came from or how they set up. It just appears they've been going for years as opposed to the empire of Usher. The book starts when one of these weapon shops inadvertently travels through time and space and arrives in the 1950s America. A gentleman goes inside the shop to see what it's like, and it kind of starts a snowball of effects, which basically ends up with the shop and the gentleman seesawing through time, and we learn that this is going to create a massive explosion at some time, and it's a big threat to reality. Strangely enough, this kind of thread kind of disappears partway through the book. Most of the book is more of a look at social systems, life and times in the world of the Usher Empire. A older gentleman who is opposed to the weapon shops and pro-government gets his comeuppance when his son rebels and travels to the big city in Usher, travels to Mars, travels all over the place, and basically finds out that people aren't all that friendly and great and will put one over him where they can, steal his money, whatever. And he gets involved with agents of the weapon shop, and they try to use him as some type of tool against Usher. It's largely a soap opera, which is trying to sell kind of civics, or whatever you want to call it, a sort of message about society and how society could be better if people were nicer. Like I said, the weapon shops offer a kind of alternative to the imperial system. I was disappointed. It doesn't really go anywhere. I keep saying this, but there are nuggets of imagination and fun and humour and serious points, but I found it was a bit lacking. I don't know how this book became such a classic. Maybe the libertarian message resonates with many readers of science fiction of a certain age. There is certainly that. There is a sequel called The Weapon Makers, which apparently elucidates things further. I don't know if I'll read it. I do have a copy of an ebook of it. I'm not really tempted to read it. So that is The Weapon Shops of Isher by A.E. Van Vogt. Classic science fiction that kind of mixes pulpy mid-century science fiction with a later type of desire to counter social issues and political issues. Not entirely successful in my opinion. So that is The Weapon Shops of Isher by A.E. Van Vogt. Okay, back with another review shortly.